Hello friends, I am Chandrakant Gardi, working as Assistant Professor in Statistics in the Punyashlok Ahilyadevi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. In this session, we will be discussing about overview of data mining and what caused scientists to work on data mining. So, before understanding what is meant by data mining or what are its consequences, let us have a brief review about the development in science so far we have done. So, what development we have done in the science with respect to time, I will just go through that. Before 1600, that was the time when we were having experimental knowledge. So, in that particular era, whatever knowledge we were having, that was based on experimental or empirical. So, we can think of that particular era as era of empirical knowledge, because in those particular situations we knew what science was, but we didn't knew about theoretical aspect of the science. So if water is stored at some height and then if it is supplied to some households residing at some lower height, then it was possible, and we knew that water will flow from higher position to lower position. So that was the application of science. So in that particular era, we were directly using the science without knowing theory behind that. But during 1600 to somewhere up to middle of 20th century, say up to 1950 or 1960, that was the era when there was very much development in the science, and that development was in the theoretical aspect. So whatever we knew before 1600, what theory lies behind that, that we studied in 1600 to 1950. So all major inventions, all researches that took place during 1600 to 1950, those were of theoretical nature basically. So gravitational force, that particular invention was done during this particular era by Newton. Pasteurization process in microbiology, that was also invented in this particular era. So this is considered as a golden era of science, 1600 to 1950, 1960. So in this particular era, we laid down the theoretical foundation of all the scientific terms that we know today. So these were the two eras. First one was the empirical knowledge, era of empirical knowledge, and the second one was era of theoretical knowledge. 1950, 1960 onwards, what happened? This was the period when there was advent of new technologies. High storage capacity instruments were developed during this particular time period, and because of that, very much bulky data was being stored. Because of these high-end instruments, it was possible to store the bulky data. And if we are storing this much bulky data, then naturally question was there that if we are having this much data, can we exploit it to gain some knowledge out of this particular data? Because just storing the data, that doesn't serve the purpose. If we are very much rich with respect to data, then can we use that particular data in order to gain some insights or knowledge about the process? So that was the question that motivated scientists to work on data mining. So can we mine this particular data to get or to extract knowledge from this particular data? That was the question scientists worked on. And because of that, data mining, this particular branch of science, arises. So what we are doing in data mining is whatever available data we are having, that data will be exploited in order to get some insight from that particular data. I'll just tell you one simple example. Suppose it's say 3 p.m. It's a daytime 3 p.m. and you are sleeping and there is rain outside. So by the time you wake up, the rain is not there, it is not raining outside. So you will go outside, you will just see the ambience around you, and just by looking at the ambience around you, you will come to the conclusion that it has rained. Suppose there is a pond nearby. What amount of rainwater is there in that pond? Based on that, you come to some conclusion that it was moderate rain, it was heavy rain, or it was just a little sprinkle kind of thing. So this conclusion you have drawn based on the information that you see in that particular pond. So what amount of water is there in the pond, that is the information, that is the data you have collected, and from that particular data you have inferred about the process, and you have come to the conclusion that it was heavy rain, moderate rain, or it was just a sprinkle. So this is nothing but coming to some conclusion based on the data. Now whether your conclusion is correct or not, that is some other thing. We will go in that particular detail when we see supervised and unsupervised learning. But for the time being, what we have done is, based on the data, we have come to some conclusion. Now, based on that particular amount of rainfall, just by looking at that particular pond, you are saying that it was heavy rain, moderate rain, or just a sprinkle. But someone, he may, just by observing that same pond, he may come up with the conclusion that it was a moderate rain, and just by observing the same pond, you may come to the conclusion that it was heavy rain. So it is a subjective in nature, and therefore what we should have is, we should measure that amount of water in the pond, and based on that amount, that quantification will be there, and once we quantified that particular amount, then whatever conclusion two persons are going to draw based on that particular data, that is going to be same. So whatever we are observing around us, that needs to be quantified. Once we quantify it, then there will be no subjectivity, and therefore whatever basic principle of objectivity is there in the science, that principle will be satisfied. So once we quantified whatever available information around us is, based on that particular quantified data, we can gain some knowledge about the process. So that is the principle of data. So once we have gathered the data, data is nothing but the experience around us, and that experience is in terms of quantified terms. So once we have that particular data, based on that data, we can come to some conclusion, and there are different methodologies, different scientific methodologies, so to say, based on which we can come to some conclusion by analyzing the given data. There are different methods for analyzing. Depending on the nature of data, we may go for any of these methods. So this is nothing but a data science or data mining. Now some people will say that, then what is the difference between empirical knowledge and data science? So during before 1600, we were having empirical knowledge. That was considered as the period when we were having empirical science or empirical knowledge, knowledge based on experiments. And this is the knowledge again based on the experience. So is there any difference between this particular era when we are talking about data science and the era when we were talking about empirical science? So there is clear-cut difference between these two. Even now also we are having a data based on experiments, and we are basing our conclusion on this particular data. But before 1600, data was not the core part of this particular knowledge. The experiment was the main part. Experiment was the jinx of the entire process. Performing experiment to gain some knowledge, that was the task done before 1600. And here we are not performing the experiment, here we are more of the data focused. So this particular science is data focused science. So we are not performing the experiment, we are just gathering the data, so to say. So suppose we are talking about a mall. Suppose some data has been collected at a particular mall. So how many number of customers are visiting that mall, what number of commodities they are purchasing, what is the bill amount of those customers. So if this is the data, and based on that we need to analyze which age group persons are visiting that particular mall, what is the average amount of bill of customers at the particular mall, on an average how much time they are spending in the mall. Suppose these are the concerns that we need to address. So for this particular aspect, we will not send customers to that particular mall. Naturally customers will arrive, will just collect the data. So we will not perform the experiment, we will be focused on collecting the data. So in this particular aspect, data will be considered as a byproduct of experiment. We are not performing the experiment. A real life experiment will be conducted by itself, and whatever data is generated out of that experiment, that data will be the core part of our analysis. So it can't be considered as experimental learning as what we studied before 1600. So it is somewhat resembling to that particular thing, but it is different in the aspect that it is more of data focused than the experiment focused. So here we are more concerned about the data, whatever end product is there, whatever data as a byproduct of this entire process is coming out, we will focus on that particular data and we will analyze it. In that particular sense, this data science is different than empirical knowledge. So empirical knowledge, that was one era in the development of science. Then during 1600 to 1950, that was the era, golden era of the science, when we laid down foundations of different scientific concepts. And 1960, 1970 onwards, we are now rich with respect to data, and therefore we are digging that particular data, we are mining that particular data in the search of knowledge. And fortunately, we are having high-end instruments which are storing a bulk of data, voluminous data we are right now having. So can we use that particular data for the betterment of mankind? That is the concern we are dealing in data mining. So whatever data we are having right now, that data will be analyzed based on certain things, and then we will come to some conclusion. So these conclusions will be driven by the data. So these are the data driven techniques. In statistics, what we study is distribution driven techniques. So whatever data we are having, that data will be considered to be a part of some unknown population, and we will try to find out, we will try to estimate that population using some methods of estimation like maximum likelihood estimation and others. So there we try to find certain beliefs about the population. What could be the actual population, that we try to find based on the data. Once we model the given population by a certain rule, then that model will be considered to be universal model, and then our future conclusions, future predictions will be based on that particular model. But in data mining, the amount of data that we are having is quite bulky, and therefore there is no need of finding population for this particular data. Data is so bulky that data itself can be considered to be a population, and therefore modeling this particular data as a part of some unknown population is not necessary. That data itself will be treated to be a population, and whatever conclusion we want to draw, those will be based on this particular data. Now coming back to the example that we discussed before some time, suppose there is rain and you came outside, and based on the amount of rainfall you are coming up with conclusion that it was heavy rainfall or moderate rainfall. But whether actually it was a heavy rainfall or moderate rainfall, that we don't know. So it's just your prediction that it was heavy or it was moderate. Suppose there was someone who was observing the rainfall, and he is having the correct measurement of the rainfall, and suppose he told us that it was a heavy rainfall. So you will come outside, you will note that it was a heavy rainfall, you will observe here and there, you will observe the amount of water in that particular pond. Next day again same thing happens. Suppose that person tells you that it was moderate rainfall, you again observe that amount of rainfall. So in this way, suppose successive 30 days this particular thing is going on. So every day that person is telling you that whether the rainfall was moderate, heavy, or it was just a sprinkling kind of thing. And fortunately you are observing the entire situation, and therefore you are coming up with some conclusion in your mind that if this is the scenario, when I come outside and when there is some wetness on the road, there is some this much amount of water is there in pond, if these things are happening, then it must be heavy rainfall. So certain ideas are being drafted in your mind, and whenever on say 31st day that person, suppose that person is not there, or that person has decided not to tell you whether it was heavy rainfall or moderate rainfall. So you will come outside just by observing the thing. Now you have been trained. On successive 30 days that person was telling you that whether it was moderate, heavy, or sprinkling rainfall, and you were observing the situation. So now you have been trained. So on 31st day you will just observe the situation around you, and you will come up with the conclusion that it was a moderate rainfall. So on successive 30 days someone has trained you, and based on that training you are coming up with conclusion. So someone was there to supervise your learning. You have learned through your atmosphere whether it was moderate, heavy, or sprinkle rainfall. So that you have learned, and someone was there to supervise you. So such kind of learning is called as supervised learning. Now suppose that person was not there, and on successive 30 days you yourself came outside, you just observe the situation, and then based on these particular things you have to come to some conclusion. So there is no one to supervise you. So in that particular case, whatever learning you are doing, that learning is called as unsupervised learning. So if there is someone to supervise your learning process, then that learning process is called to be supervised learning. And if there is no one to supervise you, then that particular learning is called as unsupervised learning. So what Arjuna did was supervised learning kind of thing. What Eklavya did was unsupervised learning. So suppose here the person was there to dictate you whether it was heavy, moderate, or sprinkle rain. Now in real life situations, suppose a particular person has applied, suppose we will consider a bank application loan, bank loan application. Suppose someone has applied for a bank loan, and we wish to decide whether bank should approve that particular loan or not. In order to take the decision, suppose initially we have collected the data of 100 persons, out of which say 50 are defaulters who doesn't have repaid the loan and 50 have paid the loan regularly. So we will take certain parameters into the consideration. Suppose whatever 100 customers are there, we will consider what are their ages, what was their gender, what is the salary, average salary of those persons. So suppose first person is selected, then we will focus on first person. We will observe his age, his or her age, gender, monthly income, how many number of dependent family members are there, what is his CIBIL score, what amount of loans he has got from other banks. Such things we will consider, and based on that we will take the decision. Now suppose for these 100 persons all these parameters have been already noted, and again we are having some additional variable as whether that person has repaid the loan or not. So that yes or no, this is called as a class label. So such class labels are also given. So out of 100 available data, 50 persons have defaulted the loan. So for them class label say whether defaulter or no. If this is the class label, then defaulter, that class label will be yes in this particular case. And for the remaining 50 who have repaid the loan, for them the class label will be no. So we will firstly focus on these 50 customers who haven't repaid the loan. So how are these customers who are not repaying the loan? Just we will observe those 50 customers, and based on the data on these 50 customers we will make some belief that if these are the things, then customer is defaulting the loan. So based on these available information, whatever variables we discussed, based on the information on those variables, we will have certain beliefs that if this is a say we can say configuration, if this is the configuration of that particular person, then he is more likely to default the loan. And remaining 50 customers who have repaid the loan, for them also we are having the data on different variables. So we will study those variables, and then again we will have certain beliefs. So at the end, when we study all these 100 customers, we will have certain beliefs that if these are the parameters, if age is this much, if gender is this, if average income, monthly income of that particular person is less than 30,000, if he is having loans of amount 50,000 or more from some other banks, if his CIBIL score is less than 600, then that person is more likely to default the loan. Such conclusion, we can come to such conclusion based on the data. Once we have come to certain conclusions, then whenever a new customer arrives, then we will just observe different variables on that particular customer, and we will compare that with whatever belief we are having in our mind based on that 100 data. So based on that particular 100 data, we have made certain belief that if this is the configuration of the customer, then that customer is going to default the loan. So we will just compare that whatever we are observing on the new customer, those variables, those readings will be compared with whatever beliefs we are having in our mind, and based on that we will take the decision that we already had one customer who was resembling with you. So whatever your age, gender, salary is, we were already having one customer similarly like you, and that customer has defaulted the loan, therefore we are of the mind that we will not give you loan. So such kind of decisions can be taken based on the data. So this is nothing but a supervised learning. So in supervised learning, class labels are given, and those class labels work as a supervisor. Those will supervise us, and whatever model we are going to build, whether that model is giving correct decision or not, that we can understand based on class labels. So those class labels, whatever, suppose if we are preparing a model, if we are constructing a model, that will tell us whether the person is going to default the payment or not. So already if we know yes or no class labels, then we can train our model in such a way that it should give correct decision for these 100 persons. So suppose in regression we do method of least squares. So what we are doing there, we know the y value, and therefore we try to minimize whatever we are estimating and what actual value is. The difference between these two we try to minimize. So y minus y cap, this difference we try to minimize, or square of this difference we try to minimize for some other purpose. So in this particular way, if class labels are given, then taking decision or building the model, that becomes easy. So supervised learning is that type of learning where we are having class labels. But the situation is not good all the time. Sometimes we may not be provided with the class label. So in those particular situations also we are having certain data mining tools, and those tools are now here. We cannot come up with a prediction that whether that person will be defaulting the loan or whether that person will be repaying the loan. That thing we cannot do here, because already whatever available data is there, for those available data, whether those are defaulters or those are repaying the loan, that we don't know. And therefore what we can do at the most is we can just club these customers. So whatever number of customers are there, we can identify customers based on some measure of similarity or dissimilarity, and we can group these customers. So whenever a new customer comes in, we'll just try to identify which group he fits in. So such kind of learning is called as unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning is done in the absence of class label. Clustering is a classical example of unsupervised learning, whereas classification and regression techniques, these are the methods of supervised learning. So in this particular session, we have seen what is meant by data science or data analytics or data mining. Then what are different types of learning. When we are saying that data mining is learning from the data, then this particular learning is again categorized into two types. One is supervised learning, which is done in the presence of class label. And when class labels are not given, whatever learning we are doing out of that particular data, that will be called to be unsupervised learning. So for this particular lecture, we will stop here. In the next lecture, we will go deep into the data mining techniques. Thank you.